There was once a king who had a terrible secret. 2 big horns grew on his head. He was ashamed of them and wanted to keep them hidden from the world. To make sure no one ever discovered his secret, he came up with a cruel plan. Every time he needed a haircut, he would call a new barber. After the haircut, he would trick the barber into looking inside a gold chest. But as soon as the barber opened it, the king would push him inside, where he would fall into a deep cave. No one who entered ever returned. The town soon became fearful, for every barber who went to the palace vanished. No one knew what happened to them, but they were never seen again. Eventually, fewer and fewer barbers remained. Then, one fateful day, the king demanded another haircut. His soldiers searched the entire town but could not find any barbers. Just as they were about to give up, they spotted a young boy playing his flute in the streets. The boy was skilled with his hands, and when asked if he could cut hair, he nodded. His mother was devastated when she heard he had been chosen. She knew no one ever returned from the palace. With tears in her eyes, she packed 3 apples for him and hugged him tightly. "Be careful, my son," she whispered as the soldiers took him away. The boy carried his flute and followed the soldiers to the palace. When he arrived, he saw the grand throne and the mighty king sitting upon it. Once the soldiers left, the king handed him a small clipper. "Cut my hair," he commanded. The boy obeyed. But when the king removed his crown, the boy was horrified. 2 large horns curled out from the king's head. He wanted to scream but quickly controlled himself. Pretending not to notice, he carefully trimmed the king's hair. After 15 minutes, the king smiled in satisfaction. "You have done well," he said. "As a reward, you may take gold from the chest." The boy hesitated but walked over to the chest. Just as he reached inside, the king suddenly shoved him. The boy tumbled into darkness, falling into a deep underground cave. Instead of gold, there was only a rushing river below. The boy was caught in the current and swept away. He barely managed to grab onto a rock and pull himself to safety. Looking around, he shuddered. There were piles of bones scattered everywhere. It was clear that many had died here before him. Suddenly, he heard a strange noise. A pile of bones shifted, and out of it slithered a giant snake. The boy's heart pounded, but he thought quickly. He took out his flute and played a gentle tune. The snake, charmed by the music, stopped in its tracks. The boy then reached into his pocket and pulled out one of his apples. He placed it before the snake, who sniffed it curiously. Pleased by the gift, the snake slithered aside and revealed a hidden path. Without wasting time, the boy ran toward it. The path led him to a dark tunnel. He hurried through it and emerged into a dense forest. But just as he took a breath of relief, he heard a low growl. A hungry wolf appeared, its eyes glowing in the darkness. The wolf lunged at him, and the boy barely had time to scramble up a tree. But the wolf refused to leave. The boy quickly played his flute again. The melody calmed the beast, and after a while, it lay down, exhausted. Seeing this, the boy carefully climbed down. The wolf's stomach growled loudly, so the boy offered it his second apple. After eating, the wolf licked its lips and wagged its tail. In gratitude, the wolf let the boy climb onto its back and carried him out of the forest. As they journeyed, they passed a quiet house by a lake. The boy waved goodbye to the wolf and knocked on the door. An old woman answered, her wrinkled face smiling kindly. "Come in, child," she said warmly. The boy, thinking he had found safety, stepped inside. But little did he know, he was walking into another trap. The woman was no ordinary old lady, she was a wicked witch. As soon as he sat down, she clapped her hands, and her disguise melted away, revealing her true form. Her long, bony fingers reached for him, and her cackling laughter echoed through the house. She was about to throw him into a boiling pot when the boy begged, "Please, let me play my flute one last time." The witch, amused, handed him the flute. As he played, the sweet music softened her heart just a little. Seeing an opportunity, the boy quickly took out his last apple and offered it to her. The witch hesitated, then took the apple and ate it. Feeling a moment of kindness, she decided to spare him. Instead of harming him, she gave him a magical coat. "This coat has great power," she said. "Wear it the right way, and you will become young again. Wear it inside out, and you will turn into an old man." The boy thanked her and quickly left. Now, he had a plan. He put on the coat inside out and transformed into an old man. Then, he returned to the palace, pretending to be a new barber. When he arrived, the guards stopped him, but when they heard he had come to cut the king's hair, they let him inside. Once again, the king sat before him. The disguised boy carefully trimmed the king's hair, just as he had done before. When he finished, the king was pleased. "Go to the chest and take your gold," he said. The old man walked over and opened the chest. "Oh my! I have never seen so much gold before," he exclaimed loudly. Curious, the king leaned forward to look inside. At that moment, the old man pushed him in. The king tried to grab him, but he only caught the long beard. In a flash, the old man took off his magical coat, and the beard vanished. The king fell into the cave below. Deep in the darkness, the giant snake was waiting. The evil king met his fate and became the snake's next meal. By the time the soldiers rushed into the room, the old man had already vanished. No one ever knew what had happened to the king or why he disappeared. The boy, now back in his normal form, returned home and reunited with his mother. From that day forward, peace returned to the land, and the king's dark secret was lost forever.